The sky above New York turned white, then red, then black. Jake Morrison watched from the orbital station as the city where his wife and daughter lived disappeared under a wall of fire. He stood frozen at the observation window, his hand pressed against the cold glass, unable to process what his eyes were seeing. "Commander, we need to move now." Amy Chen grabbed his arm, pulling him away from the window. The station shook violently as another blast hit their shields. Red warning lights flashed throughout the corridor. Jake finally moved, his training taking over even as his mind went numb. He ran alongside Amy toward the command center, their boots clanging on the metal floors. All around them, crew members rushed to their stations. Some were crying. Others looked angry. All of them looked scared. "Report," Jake said as he entered the command center. His voice sounded hollow even to his own ears. Lieutenant Kevin Walsh looked up from his console, his face pale. "Sir, we've lost contact with 18 major cities. London, Tokyo, Mumbai, São Paulo. They're all gone. The orbital defense fleet is destroyed. We're the last station still operational." Jake stared at the tactical display. Red markers covered the screen where Earth's defenses used to be. Blue markers showed enemy ships. There were so many blue markers that they almost covered the red ones completely. "How many enemy vessels?" Jake asked. "Over 300 confirmed, sir. They came through jump points we didn't even know existed." Kevin's hands shook as he typed. "They hit us from every direction at once. We never had a chance." Amy was already at her station, her fingers flying across her keyboard. "I'm recording everything. Ship classifications, weapon signatures, communication frequencies. If we survive this, we'll need this data." "If we survive," Jake repeated quietly. He activated the station-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Commander Morrison. Prepare for evacuation. We can't hold this position. Transfer all critical data to the escape pods. We leave in 10 minutes. Another explosion rocked the station. This time, the lights flickered and went out for 3 seconds before emergency power kicked in. "Commander, we're being hailed," said Nina Rodriguez from the communications station. She was a Special Forces captain who had been visiting the station when the attack began. "It's the alien fleet. They want to talk." "Put them through," Jake said. The main screen flickered to life. A creature appeared, unlike anything humans had ever seen in their 6 months of contact with the Galactic Council. It had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern on its face, and its skin was covered in blue scales that shimmered under the lights of its ship. "Human Commander," the creature said. Its voice came through translated by the same devices that had allowed peaceful communication just weeks ago. "I am War Master Thexol of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. Your species has been deemed a threat to galactic peace. You will surrender immediately and submit to Council authority. Refuse, and we will exterminate every human on your planet." Jake felt something cold settle in his chest. Not fear, something else, something darker. "We've been at peace," he said slowly. "We've done nothing to threaten anyone." "Why are you doing this?" "You developed faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years, Thexel said. Species like yours are dangerous. You advance too quickly. You are too violent, too unpredictable. The Council has decided that humanity must be controlled before you become a problem. So you killed billions of innocent people," Jake said. His voice was very quiet now. "You destroyed our cities without warning, without even a declaration of war." "It is not war," Thexol replied. "It is pest control. You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we will finish what we started." The screen went black. The command center was silent. Then Nina spoke up. "Sir, with respect, we need to fight back." "With what?" Kevin asked. "Our fleet is gone. Our weapons barely scratch their shields. We're finished." "No," Amy said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was staring at her screen with wide eyes. "No, we're not finished. Look at this." She transferred her data to the main screen. Numbers and graphs filled the display. "Their weapons are powerful, yes, but they're not efficient. They're using 3 times more energy than they need to. Their shields have gaps in the rotation cycle. And their communication system," she zoomed in on a frequency analysis. "It's encrypted, but it's not impossible to break. They're arrogant. They think we're too primitive to be a real threat." Jake stepped closer to the screen. For the first time since the attack began, he felt something other than grief and shock. He felt hope, small but real. "Can we use this?" "Maybe," Amy said. "But not here, not now. We need to survive first. We need to get this data to people who can use it." "The President," Jake said. He turned to Nina. Do we know if President Garrett survived? Nina checked her console. Last report showed her evacuation to the Colorado bunker was successful. The underground facilities are still intact. Then that's where we go, Jake said. He looked around at his crew. Young faces, scared faces, angry faces. We lost today. We lost badly. But we're not done. We're going to get this data to the president. We're going to regroup. And then we're going to make them regret they ever came to Earth. The evacuation took 8 minutes. The crew packed themselves into escape pods, each one carrying precious data and equipment. Jake was in the last pod with Amy, Kevin, and Nina. As they launched, he watched through the small window as the orbital station Phoenix, humanity's pride and joy, exploded behind them. The pod shook as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Jake closed his eyes and thought about his wife Sarah and his daughter Emma. He thought about the last time he'd spoken to them, 3 days ago. A routine call. He'd promised to be home next month. Emma had been excited about her 10th birthday party. Sarah had laughed and said she missed him. Now they were gone. Turned to ash in an instant. Jake opened his eyes and looked at the others in the pod. They were all thinking similar thoughts, he knew. They had all lost someone, sir, Amy said softly. I know what you're feeling, we all do, but we can't let grief consume us. Not yet, we need to focus on survival, on fighting back. I know, Jake said. Don't worry. I'm not going to fall apart. I'm going to do my job. He paused, then added, and then I'm going to kill every one of them that I can. Amy didn't tell him that was wrong. She just nodded. The pod landed in a remote area of Colorado, not far from the government bunker. Military vehicles were waiting for them, already alerted to their arrival. Soldiers helped them out of the pod and rushed them to an armored transport. The drive to the bunker took 20 minutes. Jake stared out the window at the landscape. Everything looked normal. Trees, mountains, blue sky. It was hard to believe that across the ocean, entire continents were burning. The bunker was a massive underground facility built during the Cold War and expanded over the decades. It could house 10,000 people and had enough supplies to last for years. Now it served as the last headquarters of Earth's government. President Lisa Garrett met them in the command room. She was a tall woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked exhausted but determined. Commander Morrison, she said, shaking his hand. I'm glad you made it. We've lost too many good people today. Madam President, Jake said. He gestured to Amy. Lieutenant Chen has critical data about the enemy fleet. It might give us an advantage. Lisa listened as Amy explained her findings. When Amy finished, the president was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, How many people do we have left who can fight? Our military took heavy losses, said a general standing nearby. But we still have ground forces, submarines, and some scattered air units. Maybe 2 million soldiers worldwide if we count reserves and civilian volunteers. And the enemy has over 300 ships in orbit, with billions more soldiers across their empire, Lisa said. She looked at Jake. Tell me honestly, Commander. Can we win this? Jake thought about his wife and daughter. He thought about the billions of other people who had died today. He thought about the arrogance in Thexal's voice, the casual way he had called humanity pests. I don't know if we can win, Jake said slowly. But I know we can make them bleed. I know we can hurt them. And I know that if we're going to die, we should die fighting. Lisa smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had made a hard decision. Good, because I've been talking to some people. People who have been keeping secrets. She pressed a button on the table and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed a space station, not in orbit around Earth, somewhere else, somewhere hidden. The station was massive, bristling with weapons that looked nothing like the ones humanity had shown to the Galactic Council. What is that? Jake asked. That, Lisa said, is one of 12 facilities that officially don't exist. Project Nemesis. We started building them in secret 50 years ago, when we first detected alien signals. We've been preparing for this day, Commander. Hoping it would never come, but preparing nonetheless. Jake stared at the image. You mean we have secret weapons? We have secret everything, Lisa said. Weapons, ships, technology, resources hidden across the solar system. The Council thinks we're primitive. They think we're easy prey. They have no idea what humans are really capable of when we're fighting for survival. 8 weeks into the war, everything changed. Jake stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, watching as the Council's reinforcements arrived. He had known they were coming. but the size of the fleet still made his stomach drop. Over 500 ships led by the Council's elite forces, the Crimson Legion. That's a lot of ships, Julie said quietly. Yeah, Jake agreed. Amy, anything from intelligence? Amy looked up from her station. Her face was pale. The Crimson Legion has never lost a battle. They're the Council's best, and they're led by Commander Velkara. He's personally destroyed 73 enemy vessels in his career. Then he's about to meet his first defeat, Jake said, with more confidence than he felt. The battle for Mars was brutal. The human forces had fortified the planet over the previous weeks, building weapon platforms and defense stations. But the Crimson Legion was different from the forces they had fought before. They were disciplined, coordinated, and they learned from humanity's tactics. The battle lasted 6 hours. Jake watched as his forces were slowly pushed back. The Crimson Legion used overwhelming firepower and perfect formations. When humans tried their guerrilla tactics, the Legion adapted. When kinetic weapons struck, the Legion's shields held. When quantum torpedoes fired, the Legion's ships dodged or absorbed the damage with advanced armor. By the end, humanity had lost 3 ships and most of their orbital platforms around Mars. The Valkyrie itself had taken heavy damage. A Council plasma beam had burned through the port side, killing 30 crew members and destroying 2 weapon systems. Fall back, Jake ordered, hating the words. All ships retreat to the asteroid belt. The human fleet limped away from Mars, pursued by Crimson Legion ships. They only escaped because Ben Parker's hidden mine slowed the pursuit long enough for the human ships to jump away. In the asteroid belt, Jake surveyed the damage. The Valkyrie would need weeks of repairs. 2 other ships were so badly damaged, they were barely functional. Worst of all, morale was shattered. The crew had thought they were winning. Now they realized the Council had just been testing them with second-rate forces. We can't beat them straight up, Julie said. She was bandaged from a head wound but still at her post. They're too strong. I know, Jake said. He felt the weight of command pressing down on him. How many more people would die before this ended? Get me the president. But before he could make the call, Amy jumped up from her station. Commander, I've got something. You need to see this now. Jake hurried to her console. Amy's hands were shaking as she pulled up intercepted transmissions. I've been monitoring all Council communications, she said quickly, and I just intercepted something from one of their internal channels. Look at this. The screen showed a message in Council script with a translation below. Jake read it and felt his heart rate increase. It was a communication from a Council species called the Meridians to another called the Krelliks, and it said things that changed everything. The message questioned the attack on Earth. It asked why the Council had struck without provocation. It mentioned that the Meridians had voted against the attack, but had been overruled. It suggested that the real reason for the attack wasn't because humans were dangerous, but because the Council's leadership was afraid of human advancement. There's more, Amy said. She pulled up dozens of other messages. The Council isn't united. Several species are angry about the war. They think it was unjust. They're arguing with each other. And some of them are talking about leaving the Council entirely. Jake stared at the messages. A plan began to form in his mind. Can we broadcast to Council space? We can try, Amy said. Their communication network is galaxy-wide. If we hack in, we could send a message to billions of aliens. Then that's what we do, Jake said. He opened a channel to President Garrett and explained what they had found. Lisa listened carefully, then smiled. It was the first genuine smile Jake had seen from her since the war began. Do it, she said. Let's show the galaxy what really happened here. Let's make the Council leadership answer for their crimes. Over the next 3 days, Amy and her team worked non-stop to hack the Council's communication network. Meanwhile, Emma Stone, a war correspondent who had been documenting the conflict, compiled evidence of the unprovoked attack. Videos of the initial bombardment. Records showing Earth had made no threats. Testimonies from survivors. When they were ready, they broadcast everything to the entire galaxy. The message was simple and devastating. It showed the peaceful first contact between humanity and the Council. It showed Earth's excitement about joining the galactic community. Then it showed the attack, the deaths, the destruction. And finally, it showed humanity's desperate fight for survival. Emma's voice narrated the whole thing. We are humanity, she said. 6 months ago, we met the Galactic Council in peace. We offered friendship and cooperation. Their response was genocide. They murdered 8 billion of our people without warning, without reason. They did it because they feared our potential. They did it because their leadership saw us as a threat to their power, and now they call us aggressors when we defend our home. We ask the species of the galaxy, is this justice? Is this how civilized people behave? We fought back because we had no choice. We will continue to fight until Earth is free, and we will remember who attacked us without cause, and who stood by and watched. The broadcast was seen by trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. The reaction was immediate and explosive. The Meridians, a species known for their philosophy and ethics, were outraged. Their government issued a formal condemnation of the attack on Earth. The Kralliks, warriors who valued honor above all else, called the attack cowardly and dishonorable. They withdrew their forces from Council operations. Within days, 3 species announced they were leaving the Galactic Council. 4 more demanded an investigation into the decision to attack Earth. Protests erupted on dozens of Council worlds. The entire political structure of the galaxy was shaking. Jake watched the reports from Amy's console and felt hope for the first time in weeks. "This is good," he said. "This is really good. It gets better," Amy said. She showed him a new message. "The Meridians have sent us a communication. They want to meet. They're offering to share intelligence about Council military operations. Can we trust them?" "I don't know," Amy admitted. "But what choice do we have? We're losing this war. We need allies." President Garrett authorized the meeting. It took place on a neutral station in deep space far from any Council forces. Jake went personally, along with Amy and Nina. They met with 3 Meridian representatives. The Meridians looked like tall, thin humanoids with pale blue skin and large eyes. Their leader, Ambassador Talren, bowed respectfully to the humans. "We come in peace and in shame," he said. His voice was soft and sad. "Our government voted against the attack on your world. We were overruled by the more aggressive species. But we should have done more to stop it. We are sorry for what happened to your people." Jake wanted to stay angry, but something in the alien's voice seemed genuine. "Why are you helping us now?" "Because what was done to you was wrong," Talren said simply. "And because we fear that if the Council can do this to Earth, they can do it to anyone who disagrees with them. The Council has become tyrannical. It must be reformed or replaced." Over the next several hours, the Meridians shared everything they knew about Council military operations, fleet positions, supply routes, communication codes, even the Council's long-term strategy for Earth. The information was incredibly valuable. "There's something else," Talren said at the end. "The Crimson Legion is powerful, but they have a weakness. Their commander, Velkara, is arrogant. He believes himself unbeatable. If you can find a way to exploit that arrogance, you might defeat him." After the meeting, Jake returned to the Valkyrie with new hope and new plans. He gathered his senior staff and laid out what he had learned. "The Legion has supply bases in 3 nearby systems," he explained. "They're bringing in ammunition, fuel, and replacement parts from these bases. If we can destroy those bases, the Legion will be stranded. They'll have to retreat or face us without resupply." "It's risky," Julie said. "Those bases will be heavily defended." "Everything we do is risky," Jake replied. "But this could work. Ben, can we get strike teams to those systems?" Ben Parker, who had joined them via video link, nodded. "We have 2 ships that are ready for long-range operations. Small, fast, hard to detect. Give them good crews and they could pull it off." "Then that's what we do," Jake said. He looked at Nina. "Captain, I want you to lead one of the strike teams. You've proven you can handle dangerous missions." Nina grinned. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow," Jake said. "We don't have time to waste." The next day, 2 small human ships slipped away from the asteroid belt and jumped to hyperspace. Their mission was simple but deadly: find the Council's supply bases and destroy them completely. Meanwhile, Jake prepared the main fleet for what would come after. He knew that once the supply bases were destroyed, Velkara would be furious. The Legion commander would come after the human fleet with everything he had. That was fine. Jake was counting on it. Because arrogant enemies made mistakes, and Jake was very good at exploiting mistakes. On Earth, the Resistance continued to fight. The Council forces were. Nina's strike team hit the first supply base like a hammer. The base was hidden in an asteroid field, defended by automated weapons and 20 Council ships. The humans came in fast and silent, their small ship painted with stealth coating that made them nearly invisible to sensors. Antimatter charges are armed. Nina said to her team. We have one shot at this. Make it count. They flew through the asteroid field, dodging rocks and weapons fire when they were finally detected. Nina's pilot, a young man named Tyler Brooks, was brilliant. He flew like he was born in space, weaving between asteroids and missiles with perfect precision. Approaching the base, Tyler said. Launching charges now. The antimatter charges drifted toward the supply base, looking like harmless debris. By the time the Council forces realized what they were, it was too late. The charges detonated in a chain reaction that consumed the entire base and 12 of the defending ships. The explosion was so massive that it destroyed several nearby asteroids. Base destroyed, Nina reported. Moving to extraction point. The second strike team, led by a veteran captain named Danny Wright, hit their target 2 hours later. Their base was in a different system orbiting a gas giant. Danny's approach was even more aggressive than Nina's. His team flew their ship directly into the base's docking bay before anyone realized they were hostile. They set their reactor to overload, evacuated in escape pods, and watched as their ship exploded, taking the entire base with it. Back at Earth, Jake received the reports and smiled grimly. Both bases destroyed. The Crimson Legion just lost half their supply line. Velkara will be furious, Amy said. She was monitoring Council communications. I'm already seeing emergency transmissions. They're scrambling to find new supply sources. Good, Jake said. Now we spring the trap. He had spent the past week preparing for this moment. The human fleet, reinforced with ships from the hidden facilities on Mars, was ready for one massive battle. Ben Parker's engineers had worked around the clock to repair damaged vessels and build new weapons. Every ship was armed to the teeth. Every crew was ready to fight. Velkara will come for us, Jake said to his officers. His pride won't let him ignore what we did to his supply bases. When he comes, we'll be ready. 3 days later, the Crimson Legion appeared at the edge of the asteroid belt. Velkara's fleet was still massive, over 400 ships. But Jake's intelligence told him that many of those ships were running low on ammunition and fuel. They couldn't sustain a long battle. All ships, this is Morrison, Jake broadcast to the human fleet. Remember what we're fighting for. Remember the billions who died. Today we make the Council pay for every single one of them. The battle began with the Council forces charging forward, confident in their superior numbers. Velkara's voice came through on an open channel. Humans, you have annoyed me long enough. Your resistance ends today. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick. Jake didn't bother to respond. He just gave the order to attack. The human ships moved in coordinated groups using tactics they had learned over weeks of fighting. They didn't try to match the Council's firepower directly. Instead, they used the asteroids for cover, striking and retreating, forcing the enemy to waste ammunition chasing them. Julie flew the Valkyrie through the asteroid field like it was an obstacle course she had memorized. Council ships fired at them but hit rocks instead. Meanwhile, the Valkyrie's weapons found their targets again and again. Quantum torpedoes tore through enemy ships. Plasma lances cut vessels in half. They're getting frustrated, Amy reported. I'm intercepting messages. Velkara is ordering his ships to pursue more aggressively. Perfect, Jake said. Just like we planned. The Council ships pushed deeper into the asteroid field, chasing the human vessels. They didn't realize they were being led into a kill zone. Hidden throughout the asteroids were mines, automated weapons platforms, and 3 more human ships lying in wait. When Velkara's fleet was fully committed, Jake gave the order. All units execute ambush protocol. Suddenly, the asteroids themselves seemed to come alive with weapons fire. Mines detonated in massive chains. Hidden platforms opened fire from every direction. The 3 waiting ships emerged and struck the Council's rear formations. The Legion found itself surrounded, taking fire from all sides. Velkara realized too late that he had been outmaneuvered. Retreat, he ordered. All ships withdraw immediately. But retreating through the asteroid field while under fire was even more dangerous than advancing. Council ships collided with asteroids while trying to escape. They crashed into each other in their panic. Human ships hunted them mercilessly, picking off stragglers and damaged vessels. The battle lasted 4 hours. By the end, the Crimson Legion had lost nearly 200 ships. The survivors limped away, their formation broken, their pride shattered. Velkara's flagship was heavily damaged, one of its engines destroyed. Jake watched them retreat and felt something that wasn't quite satisfaction. It was just tired relief. Status report, he said. We lost 19 ships, Julie said quietly. Casualties are still being counted. 19 ships. Hundreds of people dead. But they had broken the Council's elite force. They had proved that humanity could win. Send a message to President Garrett, Jake said. The Legion is defeated. The path to their central station is open. On Earth, President Lisa Garrett received the news with mixed emotions. They had won a great victory, but the cost had been terrible. Millions were dead. Cities were ruins. Even if they won the war completely, rebuilding would take decades, but they had to finish this. She couldn't let the sacrifice be for nothing. Prepare our terms for the Council, she told her advisors. We're going to negotiate from a position of strength for the first time. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Amy, who had been inside the Council's communication network for weeks, discovered something important. One of the Council species, the Kralliks, had sent a secret message to Earth. They wanted to meet. The meeting took place on a neutral station. Jake, Lisa, and Amy met with the Kralliks' war leader, a massive alien with armor-like skin and 4 arms. His name was Krelmar, and he spoke with a deep, rumbling voice. Humans, he said, my people value honor in battle. What the Council did to your world was dishonorable. What you have done in response has been impressive. You fight like true warriors. He paused. The Kralliks are leaving the Council. We will form a new alliance with species who value honor and strength. We invite Earth to join us. Lisa looked at Jake, then back at the alien. What would this alliance mean? Protection, Krelmar said simply. The Council is collapsing, but there are other threats in the galaxy. Together we can ensure that no one attacks our worlds without consequences. We will share technology, trade, and military support. And the Council? Lisa asked. What happens to them? They will answer for their crimes, Krelmar said. But that is for you to decide. Earth was attacked. Earth has the right to demand justice. Over the next 2 weeks, more species left the Council and joined the new alliance. The Meridians brought their advanced medical technology. The Vorns offered their manufacturing capabilities. Even some human-like species from distant systems requested membership. The old Galactic Council was crumbling. High Counselor Dreknor, the leader who had ordered the attack on Earth, was facing calls for his arrest from his own people. The Council's military was in shambles. Their economy was collapsing as member species withdrew. Finally, Dreknor sent a message to Earth. His face appeared on the screen in the human command center. And he looked old and defeated. President Garrett, he said, the Council formally requests peace negotiations. We were wrong to attack your world. We were wrong about humanity. Please let us end this war. Lisa looked at the alien who had ordered the death of 8 billion humans. She thought about all the children who had died, the families destroyed, the cities turned to ash. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to see him suffer, but she was also a leader, and leaders had to think about the future. We will negotiate, she said, but you will not dictate the terms. Here is what Earth demands. Complete withdrawal of all Council forces from our solar system. Full reparations for the damage you caused. Public war crimes, trials for everyone involved in the decision to attack Earth. And permanent recognition of Earth as an independent sovereign. Power with the right to defend itself. Dreknor looked like he wanted to argue. But he couldn't. His power was gone. His empire was broken. We accept your terms, he said quietly. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a treaty signing. It took place on a space station built specifically for the occasion. Representatives from Earth, the Kralliks, the Meridians, and dozens of other species attended. The old Council leaders came too, under guard to face justice. Jake stood beside President Garrett as the treaty was signed. He thought about Sarah and Emma, about all the people they had lost. The treaty couldn't bring them back. Nothing could. But at least their deaths hadn't been meaningless. Earth had survived, more than survived. It had become a power that the galaxy would remember. After the signing, trials began for the Council leaders. Dreknor and several others were found guilty of crimes against sentient species. They were sentenced to life imprisonment on a remote prison planet. The first asteroid hit without warning. A Council destroyer was patrolling the outer edge of the fleet when a 1,000-ton rock, accelerated to incredible speed, struck its port side. The ship's shields tried to activate, but the kinetic energy was too much. The asteroid punched through the hull like it was paper. The destroyer broke in half and exploded. War Master Thexal was in his command center when the alarm started. Report, he shouted. Multiple impacts across the fleet. His tactical officer screamed. We're under attack! Sources unknown. On the tactical display, red markers appeared. Dozens of them. Ships were being destroyed all around the fleet. Thexel watched in shock as another destroyer vanished from the screen. Then a cruiser, then 2 frigates. How is this possible? He demanded. The humans have no fleet. The attacks are coming from the asteroid belt, the tactical officer said. And from the moon? Sir, there's a ship coming from behind the moon. I've never seen a design like it. Thexal stared at the screen as the Valkyrie emerged from its hiding place. The human ship accelerated toward his fleet, its weapons already firing. Blue bolts of plasma lanced out, striking a council frigate. The frigate's shields held for exactly 2 seconds, then collapsed. The plasma burned through the hull and the ship went dark. All ships battle formation. Thexal ordered. Concentrate fire on that ship. 20 council vessels turned their weapons on the Valkyrie. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between them. Jake watched from his command chair as the enemy fire approached. Evasive maneuvers, he said calmly, and return fire with the quantum torpedoes. Julie's hands flew over her controls. The Valkyrie spun and rolled, dodging most of the incoming fire. The few hits that connected were absorbed by shields that were far stronger than the Council expected. Meanwhile, the Valkyrie's torpedo tubes launched their deadly cargo. The quantum torpedoes looked small and harmless, but when they hit their targets, they were devastating. The first one struck a Council cruiser in the engine section. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to tear itself apart from the inside, metal and electronics breaking down at the molecular level. Within seconds, the cruiser was just a cloud of debris. Torpedoes are effective, Jake said with satisfaction. Continue firing. Target the larger ships. The Valkyrie moved through the enemy fleet like a shark, fast and deadly. The Council ships tried to corner it, but Julie was too good a pilot. She wove between their formations, always moving, never giving them a clear shot. And every time the Valkyrie fired, another enemy ship died. But Jake knew they couldn't win alone. Status on other units? He asked. Kinetic platforms have destroyed 18 enemy vessels, Amy reported from her station. She had successfully broken the Council's communication codes and was now monitoring their transmissions. The enemy is in chaos. They don't understand what's happening. Wait, I'm intercepting a message. The Council commander is ordering a retreat to defensive formation. Good, Jake said. Let them bunch up. It'll make them easier targets. He opened a channel to the other hidden ships. All units, press the attack. Don't give them time to organize. Throughout the solar system, humanity's secret weapons continued their assault. 3 more Valkyrie-class ships emerged from hiding spots on Mars and in the asteroid belt. They struck the enemy fleet from different angles, forcing the Council ships to split their attention. Antimatter mines, disguised as space debris, drifted into enemy formations and detonated, each explosion taking out multiple ships. On Earth, Nina's ground forces began their own campaign. A Council landing force had set up a base near what used to be Berlin. They thought they were safe, protected by shield generators and guard patrols. They were wrong. Nina led 50 soldiers through the ruins of the city, moving silently in the darkness. They carried weapons that humanity had never shown to the galaxy. Plasma rifles, electromagnetic pulse grenades, and something new that Ben Parker's team had developed. Bioagents specifically designed to target the Council's most common species. Remember, Nina whispered to her team as they approached the alien base. We hit fast and hard. Kill as many as we can, then disappear. We want them scared. The attack began with EMP grenades. 3 of them arced over the base's walls and detonated, shutting down shields and communication equipment. Before the aliens could react, Nina's soldiers opened fire. Plasma bolts cut through the darkness, hitting aliens before they even knew they were under attack. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, 73 aliens were dead, and Nina's team had vanished back into the ruins without a single casualty. They left behind one thing, a message written in the aliens' own language. This is our planet. Leave or die. Similar attacks happened across Earth. In China, a special forces team destroyed an alien supply depot. In Brazil, human fighters ambushed a patrol and took no prisoners. In Africa, resistance fighters collapsed a tunnel on a group of alien engineers. Everywhere the Council troops went, they found death waiting for them. Back in orbit, the battle was reaching a critical point. The Council fleet had lost over 40 ships in the first hour of fighting. Thexel was furious and frightened. This wasn't supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to be helpless. How many ships do they have? He demanded. We've confirmed 4 large vessels and at least a dozen smaller ones, his tactical officer said. But there are also automated weapons throughout the system. Kinetic platforms, mines, defense satellites we never detected. Sir, the humans have been planning this for a long time. Thexal felt cold fear in his chest. They had walked into a trap. The humans had let them think they were winning, and all the while, they had been preparing to strike back. Send a message to the Council. We need reinforcements. The humans are jamming our long-range communications, the officer said. We can't reach the Council. Before Thexal could respond, another alarm sounded. Sir, multiple enemy ships approaching from the direction of Mars. Jake saw the same thing on his display. 3 more human vessels, fresh and fully armed, were joining the battle. All ships, coordinate your attacks, he ordered. Target the enemy flagship. It's time to cut off the head of the snake. The 7 human ships moved in formation, concentrating their fire on Thexal's massive command vessel. The flagship was larger and better armed than any other ship in the Council fleet, but it couldn't withstand the combined assault. Shields began to fail under the barrage of plasma, kinetic rounds, and quantum torpedoes. On the flagship, Thexal gripped his command chair as his ship shook violently. All power to shields. Return fire! The flagship's weapons fired back, and they were powerful. One of the smaller human ships was hit and went dark, drifting away with heavy damage. But the remaining ships pressed their attack. A quantum torpedo struck the flagship's primary shield generator, and the shields collapsed. Abandon ship, Thexal ordered. All hands evacuate immediately. But it was too late. The Valkyrie fired its main plasma lance, a weapon that took enormous power and could only be used sparingly. The beam cut through the flagship from bow to stern, bisecting it cleanly. Both halves of the ship exploded in massive fireballs. Jake watched the flagship die and felt no satisfaction. Just cold determination. 1 down, he said. Move to the next target. The Council fleet was breaking apart now. Without their commander, the ships had no coordination. Some tried to fight back. Others attempted to flee. The human ships hunted them mercilessly, and the automated weapons continued their barrage. By the end of the second hour, the Council had lost 90 ships. Many more were damaged and limping away. Finally, the surviving Council ships managed to organize a retreat. They jumped away to the outer solar system, regrouping beyond Jupiter. Jake wanted to pursue, but he knew better. His ships needed repairs and resupply. They had hurt the enemy badly, but they had also taken damage. Stand down from combat alert, Jake ordered. Damage report. The Valkyrie took hits, but nothing critical, Julie reported. We're at 70% capacity. 2 of our other ships are heavily damaged. One will need extensive repairs. And we're down to 40% ammunition, Kevin added. If we fight another battle like that, we'll run out. Jake nodded. Get me a channel to President Garrett. Lisa's face appeared on the screen moments later. She looked tired but pleased. Commander, I've been watching the battle feeds. Excellent work. How bad are our losses? We lost 1 ship and heavily damaged 2 others, Jake said. But the enemy lost 90 vessels and their flagship. Their commander is dead. They've retreated to regroup. They'll call for reinforcements, Lisa said. We probably have a week, maybe 2, before fresh Council forces arrive. Then we use that time to hit them again, Jake said. And we need to expand our operations. We can't just fight in space. We need to take the battle to their supply lines, their bases, and other systems. Agreed, Lisa said. I'll coordinate with Ben to prepare our next moves. In the meantime, make repairs and rest when you can. This war is just beginning. The channel closed and Jake sat back in his chair. Around him, the crew was celebrating their victory. They had fought the mighty Galactic Council and won. They had proved that humanity wasn't helpless prey. But Jake knew this was only the first battle. The Council had thousands of... The briefing room was cold and sterile, buried 3 levels deeper in the bunker than the command center. Jake sat at a long table with Amy, Kevin, and Nina. President Garrett stood at the head of the table next to an older man Jake had never seen before. This is Ben Parker, Lisa said. He's been running Project Nemesis for the past 20 years. Ben, tell them what we have. Ben was a thin man with white hair and tired eyes. He looked like someone who hadn't slept well in decades. He activated a holographic display that showed the solar system. Red dots appeared scattered throughout the system. When we first detected alien signals in the 1980s, Ben began, the government made a decision. We would pursue peaceful contact, but we would also prepare for the worst. Project Nemesis was born from that decision. He pointed to the dots. These are our hidden assets. Weapons platforms, research stations, automated defense systems. We built them in secret using black budget funds and classified technology. Jake leaned forward. How did you keep this secret? For 40 years? Very carefully, Ben said with a thin smile. We told no one who didn't need to know. We used shell companies and false records. We convinced the world that our space program was purely scientific. Meanwhile, we were building an arsenal. He zoomed in on the asteroid belt. Here we have kinetic bombardment platforms. Rocks accelerated to incredible speeds. Simple physics, but devastating. When a 1,000-ton asteroid hits a ship at orbital velocity, it doesn't matter how good their shields are. Another zoom, this time to Mars. Underground facilities on Mars. We've had people living there for 5 years. The Council doesn't know. We built automated factories that have been producing weapons and ammunition around the clock. Kevin's eyes were wide. This is impossible. We would have noticed the launches, the construction. We used new propulsion systems, Ben explained. Stuff we developed but never shared with the public. Quieter engines, stealth technology, and we launched most of it decades ago, when satellite coverage was less comprehensive. He paused. We also had help from people in the right places, people who understood what was at stake. Amy studied the display. What about ships? The Council destroyed our fleet in hours. The fleet they saw was never meant to win a real war, Ben said. Those were patrol vessels, exploration ships. Our real fleet has been waiting. He pressed another button and new images appeared. Sleek vessels, larger and more aggressive than anything humanity had shown the galaxy. Meet the Valkyrie-class battlecruisers. We have 20 of them hidden in various locations. They're equipped with weapons the Council has never seen. Nina spoke up. What kind of weapons? Quantum disruption torpedoes, Ben said. They don't just damage matter. They disrupt the fundamental bonds holding atoms together. If one hits, it creates a chain reaction that tears a ship apart from the inside. He showed another weapon, plasma lances that can cut through hull plating like paper, railguns firing projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed, and our personal favorite, antimatter mines. Jake felt a smile tugging at his lips. The first smile in 2 days. You built all this without anyone knowing? We had to, Ben said seriously. Because we knew that if aliens existed, some of them might not be friendly. We hoped for the best, but we prepared for the worst. He looked at each of them. And now the worst has happened. So it's time to stop hiding what we've built. President Garrett spoke again. The Council thinks we're defeated. They think we're cowering in fear, ready to surrender. That's good. Let them think that. Meanwhile, we'll activate our assets and hit them where it hurts. What's the plan? Jake asked. Lisa nodded to Ben, who brought up a new display. It showed the enemy fleet in orbit, with lines connecting to various points around the solar system. Operation Retribution has 3 phases. Phase 1. We activate our hidden weapons and strike their orbital positions. We need to break their formation and make them defensive. Phase 2. We go after their supply lines. They're bringing in resources from other systems to support the occupation. We cut those lines. Phase 3. We take the fight to them. We find their command structure and destroy it. Ambitious, Amy said. What are our chances?
Honestly?
Lisa said, not good. Even with our hidden weapons, they outnumber us. But we don't need to win every battle. We just need to hurt them enough that they'll negotiate. Or better yet, we make them regret ever coming here. Jake looked at the display showing the alien fleet. Over 300 ships. Each one had killed thousands, maybe millions of humans. When do we start? Phase 1 begins in 36 hours, Lisa said. Commander Morrison, you'll take command of the Valkyrie. It's our flagship. You'll coordinate the orbital attack. She looked at Nina. Captain Rodriguez, you'll lead special forces on the ground. Hit-and-run attacks against any alien troops that land. Make them afraid to leave their ships, Nina nodded. With pleasure. Lieutenant Chen, Lisa continued, you'll work on breaking their communication codes. If we can intercept and understand their messages, we'll have a huge advantage. She turned to Kevin. And you, Walsh, will coordinate with our engineering teams. We're going to need every weapon working perfectly. Yes, ma'am, Kevin said. The next 36 hours were chaos. Jake barely slept. He spent his time reviewing tactical plans, learning about the Valkyrie and her crew, and trying not to think about Sarah and Emma. Every time his mind wandered to them, he forced it back to the mission. There would be time to grieve later. Maybe. The Valkyrie was hidden in a crater on the far side of the moon. Jake took a shuttle up with a small crew, traveling in complete radio silence. When he first saw the ship, he understood why they had kept it secret. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Dark hull plating that seemed to absorb light. Weapons ports along every surface. It looked like something built for one purpose: to kill. The ship's captain, Julie Harrison, met him at the airlock. She was a former astronaut who had officially retired 3 years ago. In reality, she had been commanding the Valkyrie's construction and preparation. "Welcome aboard, Commander," Julie said. She looked tired but excited. "I've been waiting 3 years to take this ship into battle. Glad it's finally happening, even if the circumstances are terrible." Jake shook her hand. "I've read your file. You're one of the best pilots we have. I'm glad you'll be flying her." "Not just flying," Julie said with a grin. "I'm going to make those blue-scaled bastards wish they'd never heard of Earth." The crew of the Valkyrie was small, only 200 people. But every one of them was a volunteer who had spent years preparing for this moment. They knew the stakes. They knew the odds. They didn't care. Jake stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. "Listen up," he said. "In a few hours we're going to attack a fleet that outnumbers us 10 to 1. They think we're beaten. They think we're helpless. They're wrong." He paused. 2 days ago they murdered billions of our people. Our families, our friends, our children. They did it without warning, without mercy. Now it's our turn. We're going to show them what happens when you attack Earth. We're going to show them that humans don't just roll over and die. We fight back, and we make it hurt." The crew responded with grim nods and hard eyes. These were people who had lost everything. They had nothing left to lose except their lives, and they were ready to spend those lives making the enemy pay. Meanwhile, down on Earth, Nina was gathering her forces. The Special Forces teams had survived the initial attack by being deployed in remote locations. Now they were mobilizing, armed with weapons from hidden caches. Nina stood in front of 300 soldiers in a hidden mountain base. "The enemy thinks they've won," she told them. "They're sitting in orbit, planning how to divide up our planet. Some of them are even landing, setting up bases, thinking they're safe." She smiled coldly. "We're going to teach them that nowhere on Earth is safe for them. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we disappear before they can respond. We make them paranoid. We make them scared. We make them understand that occupying Earth will cost them more than they can afford." The soldiers cheered. Many had lost family in the attacks. They wanted revenge. Amy was in a different part of the bunker, surrounded by computers and data screens. She had been working non-stop on the alien communication codes. It was incredibly complex, but she was brilliant. And she was motivated. Her parents had been in Mumbai when it burned. "I'm close," she told Kevin, who had come to check on her. "Their encryption is sophisticated, but it's based on mathematics. And mathematics is universal. Give me another 12 hours. Kevin looked at the screens covered in alien symbols and numbers. "You really think we can win?" "I think we can make them regret starting this," Amy said. "That's enough for me." In orbit, the Council fleet was relaxing. The humans had gone silent. No resistance, no communication. War Master Thexal was pleased. The extermination had gone well. A few more bombardments and the humans would be ready to surrender. Then they could begin the occupation and integration process. The Council would place governors on Earth, restrict their technology, ensure they never became a threat. Thexal didn't know that beneath him. Across the planet and throughout the solar system, humanity was preparing to strike back. He didn't know about the hidden weapons, the secret ships, the careful plans developed.